Before there was history, before names, before memory could be passed down through writing or symbols, there was a world that did not know what a human was. The land was raw, untamed, and alive with danger. Vast forests stretched endlessly, grasslands opened under shifting skies, and survival was the only law that mattered. In this ancient world, long before modern humans ever appeared, something remarkable was already taking shape. A quiet transformation was unfolding, slow, fragile, and uncertain. This was the beginning of the precursor of modern humans. Millions of years ago, Africa was the center of this transformation. The climate was changing, forests were thinning, and creatures that once lived safely among trees were being forced to adapt to open land. Among them were primates who would eventually follow a path unlike any other. They were not yet human, but they were no longer just apes. Something within them was changing, an invisible shift that would one day reshape the planet. The earliest of these ancestors lived more than 7 million years ago. Fossils discovered in Africa reveal beings such as Sahelanthropus and Auroran, creatures who stood at the threshold between ape and human. Their skulls were small, their faces protruding, but the position of their spines told a powerful story. Their heads balanced upright, suggesting that they walked on two legs, at least some of the time. This single change, standing upright, would alter the course of evolution forever. Walking on two legs freed the hands. Hands that once clung to branches could now carry food, protect offspring, and eventually shape tools. Upright walking allowed these early ancestors to see farther across the land, spotting predators and opportunities alike. It was not elegance that mattered, it was survival. And survival demanded change. As generations passed, evolution refined this ability. One of the most important early precursors was Ardipithecus, a being that lived over 4 million years ago. Ardipithecus walked upright but still climbed trees, living between two worlds. The trees offered safety, while the ground offered new resources. This ancestor's body reflected compromise: feet that could grasp branches, yet legs strong enough for walking. Its brain was small, but its teeth were less aggressive than those of modern apes, suggesting reduced conflict and increased social tolerance. Cooperation, not just strength, was beginning to matter. Life for these early ancestors was harsh. Food was scarce. Predators were everywhere. Survival depended on awareness, memory, and social bonds. Mothers cared for helpless young for longer periods. Groups stayed together. Slowly, unintentionally, the foundations of human society were being laid. Then came a lineage that would fully embrace life on the ground, Australopithecus. Living between 4 and 2 million years ago, these beings were small in stature but fully upright walkers. The most famous of them, known as Lucy, walked the earth more than 3 million years ago. Her skeleton shows clear evidence of bipedalism, proving that upright walking evolved long before large brains. This challenges a common assumption that intelligence came first. In reality, the body adapted before the mind followed. Australopithecines gathered food, used simple tools, and lived in social groups. They were vulnerable, but they endured. Their brains were still small, yet their behavior was changing. They were learning from experience. They were shaping habits, they were becoming something new. Around 2.5 million years ago, the story took a dramatic turn. Stone tools appeared in the archaeological record. Sharp-edged stones were deliberately shaped and used to cut meat, break bones, and process food. This marked the emergence of Homo habilis, often considered one of the first true members of the human genus. With a slightly larger brain and more precise hands, Homo habilis demonstrated something extraordinary: the ability to imagine. A tool before creating it. This was not instinct. This was intention. Tools changed everything. Meat became easier to access. Nutrition improved. Energy increased. The brain, demanding more fuel, began to grow. Evolution rewarded intelligence not because it was noble, but because it worked. As time passed, Homo erectus emerged. Taller, stronger, and more human in appearance, Homo erectus mastered one of the most powerful forces in nature: fire. Fire provided warmth, protection, and cooked food, which unlocked more calories and further fueled brain development. Fire extended the day into the night, creating time for interaction, learning, and bonding. Around the glow of flames, communication deepened. Sounds became more meaningful. Gestures more deliberate. The roots of language were taking hold. Homo erectus was also the first human ancestor to leave Africa. They migrated into Asia and Europe, adapting to new climates and challenges. This journey marked a critical moment in human evolution. It proved that our ancestors were no longer bound to a single environment. They could explore, adapt, and survive far from their origin. As hundreds of thousands of years passed, human ancestors continued to evolve. Their brains grew larger. Their tools became more refined. Their social structures became more complex. Species such as Homo heidelbergensis emerged, bridging the gap between earlier humans and later ones. These beings hunted large animals, built shelters, and possibly developed early forms of symbolic thought. Then came the Neanderthals. Powerful, intelligent, and deeply human, they lived across Europe and parts of Asia. They made sophisticated tools, controlled fire, cared for the injured, and buried their dead. They created art and personal ornaments. They were not primitive brutes, they were thinkers, survivors, and relatives. Modern humans were not alone in the world. They shared it with other human species, including the mysterious Denisovans. These groups interacted, competed, and even interbred. The genetic evidence is clear. Many modern humans carry DNA from these ancient cousins. This means the precursor of modern humans is not a single species, but a long chain of lives, intertwined and overlapping. So what made Homo sapiens different? Why did we survive while others faded into extinction? The answer lies not in strength, but in connection. Modern humans developed advanced language, allowing ideas to spread rapidly across generations. They developed imagination, enabling them to create stories, myths, and shared identities. They cooperated in large numbers, forming alliances beyond immediate family. These abilities allowed Homo sapiens to adapt faster than any other human species, but none of this appeared from nothing. Every ability we possess was built upon the foundation laid by our precursors, the upright walker who freed the hands, the toolmaker who imagined a shape before striking stone, the firekeeper who learned to control nature, the ancestor who stayed with the group instead of walking alone. All of them live within us. Every modern human carries the legacy of millions of years of struggle, adaptation, and resilience. The story of the precursor of modern humans is not just a scientific account, it is a mirror. It reminds us that we are not separate from the natural world. We are shaped by it, born from it, dependent on it. Africa remains the birthplace of this journey. Every fossil, every discovery points back to that land where the first steps were taken. From Africa came the ancestors who would one day populate every corner of the earth. Different skin tones, cultures, and languages emerged, but the origin remained the same. When you look at yourself today, you are looking at the final chapter of a story that is still being written. Evolution has not stopped. It continues quietly, shaping bodies, minds, and societies. The precursor of modern humans was not perfect. They failed many times. Entire species vanished. But through persistence, something endured. Us, and as long as humans exist, the echo of those ancient ancestors will never fade.